I know.
Jonathan gave it to me like a year ago, and I'm like, I
I
have the number.
actually, I think I tried to give everybody a business card for just these reasons. We're going to go ahead and open the July 8th Design Review Board meeting. My apologies again for being late. As you can tell, we do have only 4 people, so you will need all 4 positive votes in order to move forward or have an approval on your project. If anyone wishes to go ahead and defer because they don't feel that that's in their favor, we are happy to move you to the next month. Just let us know. So we're going to go ahead and move on to number 1, request to approve the June minutes. Everybody had a chance to review. Does anyone have any comments or care to make a motion?
I move the approval as presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Tim?
Yes, good afternoon. Tim Brown with Planning and Development. So we've got 3 items, 2, 3, and 4. So items 2 and 3, item 2, they didn't have their revised plans yet, so they didn't have inserts. So we're requesting that to be continued to the next meeting, August 7th.
Okay.
Inland Beach Circle K is doing a pedestrian and traffic circulation study as requested by Public Works. That has not been submitted yet, so we're also asking that to be continued to the August 7th meeting. The Lane of Elma Code Chapter 6 text amendments, we're asking that to be tabled because we're going to have to figure out what is and isn't allowed under Senate Bill 180 that they just passed. So we're not sure at this point what can be changed and what cannot be changed. So we're asking that item to be tabled until we can come to that determination.
May I ask a question? I mean, I think the effect of tabling something and not picking it back up off the table during the same meeting is going to cause it to go away.
No, we can bring it back at any meeting. They just have to, in this case, this is the county's project.
Well, no, I realize that. I'm just saying that Robert's rules, if you table something and don't take it off the table during the same meeting, it falls off the agenda permanently. You can put it back, another item back on the agenda, but I'd prefer to just continue it until we learn what we need to do.
Well, we don't want to continue it multiple times.
We'd have to continue it to a specific known date, and we know
I'm
that
just,
they,
just do the next meeting.
they won't have it sorted probably by the next
We
meeting.
just continue it again.
Can.
I'm certain of that.
Okay.
Tabling
Well-
something, people
that
misunderstand what it is.
might be Robert's rules, but that's not how we do it.
Okay.
If you table something, we can bring it back at the next meeting. We can bring it back at any meeting.
I'm good. Just if we want to move all of those to August 7th, we can do that.
And then maybe just make 100% certain that tabling, because the other thing I don't know if it applies to the county, but there are limitations on how many times you can bring the same item to a board. So we've gone through a lot of work. I'd hate to make a misstep.
Well, I don't know if it's
There are people watching.
I don't know if it's in the code now or not, but our policy was you could only continue something 3 times and then you had to table it.
Okay.
We've been pretty much not doing that because we're trying to move these projects along, so we tend to table them continue them as opposed to table them. She's got to put it in the ad, and if you're an applicant, you still have to post a sign, give us the sign posting affidavit. It's up to you guys. Will it be ready by next month? Probably not, but you can certainly do that, and if we have to continue it again, we'll continue it again.
Also be optimistic. It'd be great if it has reviewed by then.
Well, I'm not being anti-optimistic.
All right.
Okay, well, are we
Yeah.
ready to go? So
Tim, was that it? Just the 3?
Yes.
Okay.
I will make a motion that we table item number 2 until the August 7th. I'm sorry, almost made my mistake. I would, let's clarify. I'm going to restart. I make the motion that we continue item number 2 until the August 7th, 2025 meeting.
We can do all of them at one. We usually
Oh,
do
we can?
with one
Okay.
vote.
In that case, I will amend my motion to continue items 2, 3, and 4 to the August 7th, 2025 meeting.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Item number 5. So Tim, before you start with your presentation, we had a discussion earlier about this particular project, because it is, in my opinion, an active code violation and cannot be heard on the agenda tonight. So without having direction from planning or codes on which direction to go with that,
Well, you have two options. You can either table it and we can bring it back when they are in compliance, however long that, or however short amount of time that takes, or you can hear it and approve it or deny it. I mean, those are your two options. I think the planning director is in agreement with you that it is in violation. It is not sign compliant. So whichever the board feels is most appropriate, you can either hear it or table it till it is compliant.
okay. Is the applicant for this item here? Do you have a preference? If you don't mind to come on up. The property, yeah, the property owner is not currently in compliance. They
So
have
if you-
multiple signs.
You will hear me, I will do whatever you tell me to do.
Well, so in my opinion, we can't hear the project because it has an active code violation. It should have never been put on the agenda.
Is it, what did they do?
There are unauthorized signs on the property. Not this one, which I think looks great, but that's my opinion, is that I don't think that we were able to hear it because of there being an active code violation.
But if I go by there on the way to the hotel and take whatever you're talking about down, I
It's-
flew in this morning. I flew in this morning and got rear-ended to be here.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry. So I got, according to Tim, we have the two options. We can move it to another meeting, or we can hear it, but
Will you do that and tell me what they need to do to rectify?
they are aware of
Well, I'll
what
make sure that whatever you're talking about is taken care of.
there is a facade modification that has happened without approval or application, and they are very aware of that. And there is an avenue for them to rectify that by asking for the facade modification. And there are unauthorized signage in the windows facing 98. And the
Like
monument,
vinyl?
yes,
Okay.
and the monument sign has been altered without approval.
Got to show you or something else?
The monument sign
At the road,
at the road.
the monument, the freestanding, not the
they've got
building sign.
They've got the window signage set up to be permanent. The code only allows 25% of the window. They're pretty much using 100% of the window.
Are you on the
And
on the
two,
mic? I don't know if your mic's on. It is?
It's
Okay.
on. And two, window signage is temporary.
That can come down. I'm not worried about that. What is the monument stuff?
They put the donut on
The big
it.
donut up.
What is that?
It, on the monument sign, so we approve the
Heirloom
text
Donuts
and
is
the,
in that building, so
In our building? What project? I
yes,
hope,
Thompson Corner.
no, I'm a botanic. I'm sorry. What donut?
oh, I did not, really, what? Everyone takes a great big sigh of relief. Okay, so is the applicant for item number 5 present? Okay, the
Listen
applicant
over
is
sign
not-
deviation.
Okay, the applicant is not present, so I'll ask my board members.
That's why I was trying to decide whether to
Table
jump in and
it,
go,
right?
brother.
That's,
Be tabled.
yeah, I agree.
So I am number 5.
Oh, you have an old agenda, okay. Yeah, if they have 3 code violations against
Your night
them,
just
this
got better,
doesn't
maybe.
even need to be continued
You
until
can
those
breathe
are
now.
resolved.
And they're very much aware. Or they,
Okay.
Okay, well, seeing,
okay,
if there's no representative of the applicant present, I will, I guess, I guess in this case, I really don't have a strong opinion about if we table it, if that staff's, if our two choices are to table, and the other choice was to hear it, we don't
no.
apparently have anything to hear, so I'm going to make the motion that we table item number 5. Period.
We have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, going to go ahead and table item 5 then. Item 6, Good News Church sign building, in case we needed a building sign.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Welcome back to our meetings.
Thank you. Can you hear me all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. All right, so state my name for the record. Okay. My name is Ayana Reed with Planning and Development Services, REED. And if I miss anything, because this is my first time presenting in front of you all, let me know so I can add it to the record and know for next time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so item number 6, Good News Church Building Sign. This is a request to approve by final order for sign SGN 2500230. This is a scenic corridor sign application submitted by Advanced Sign Solutions, excuse me, on behalf of Good News Methodist Church, Inc., requesting approval of a building sign measuring 94.5 square feet on 3.41 plus or minus acres with a future land use of mixed use and a zoning category of village mixed use. The property is located in District 4 at 4747 US Highway 98 West and can be identified by the parcel number in your staff report. May I enter this into the record?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So noted.
Okay, so just, I don't know if you've all had a chance, I'm sure you have, to review the staff report. I did have 4 comments on there for Good News Church. So in terms of staff recommendation, we're requesting the board to determine if comments 2 through 4 should be considered conditions of approval or minor revisions. And of course, this will be the space for you all to determine if additional information is needed from the applicant. So do you have any questions for me? And if not, I'll defer to the applicant.
I had
Yeah.
asked if the applicant had a full photograph of the building.
Right.
Okay, so it looks like you have that.
And
Perfect.
that's also uploaded to the portal
Okay,
too,
great.
so.
In my haste, I did not bring my iPad, so I've just got the printed copy here.
Can I go ahead and present these to you guys?
Absolutely, if you'll bring them up, and when you get back, if you'll, well, let's finish with staff, and then we'll come up officially.
And these are all the same document?
It's the same.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. All right, was there anything that specifically you wanted to talk about with the conditions of approval or recommended conditions of approval?
Let's see.
So you've got some dimensioning and color information.
Yeah, I felt that their submittal didn't provide enough detail regarding the color palette because they submitted a color palette page and I wasn't quite seeing how that aligned with the proposed color palette of the building. So maybe some additional information on those proposed colors would be helpful. Also showing additional information regarding dimensions of the height of the building sign from grade would also be helpful, just for the record, so that way we have that information if we're approving the sign on the scenic corridor. And also providing an illumination rendering, because the call out on the plan set indicates that the request is an illuminated sign, but I'm not really seeing any details on the illumination.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for staff?
I have two. One is that the rendering I'll describe on the photograph that's in the packet indicates what appear to be white letters, excepting the stylized E, which is in a teal. But the document we were just handed appears to show the letters as black. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. And just so it's on the recording, the applicant clarified that the letters are going to be white, but that the larger paper rendering we were just given, they're rendered as black just for visibility. The second question I have is...
I'm sorry,
Okay.
David, to interject. You said that the drawing in front of you has black lettering, or is it blue lettering? Because the digital
believe
copy
it's blue.
shows blue.
Okay, it does look like it might be blue. Hard to tell.
I agree.
Yeah, the
I think
digital-
it's printed in blue so that the black is behind it, so you can see the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it showing as blue on
differential.
the hard copy?
If you look
I haven't had a
close.
chance to look at the.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you look close.
Okay. And then my second question is, did the designer of the structure, I believe they call it a porch, were they involved at all in the design of the sign?
I'll defer to the applicant on that.
Okay. Yes, okay, all right.
Oh, if you don't mind, we'll wait until we're done with staff, and then I'll invite you up. So, or any.
Yep, I'm sorry,
was that
Madam,
the
I'm
only
sorry,
other
Madam
question?
Chairman, those were those
Okay.
were my questions. And I'm sorry, I should have
no,
directed the
no,
questions to
that's
you.
okay. Was anything else to staff? We good? Okay.
No.
Thank you. All right, now we can get our applicant up here. So if you wouldn't mind to please state your name for the record, and then you had already passed out the rendering that was the full scale, so.
Yes, my name is Braden Heerman. I'm here presenting or representing Advanced Sign Solutions.
And so you had mentioned that the full-scale rendering that shows the entire pavilion is in a different color, just so it can be visibly read. So that's just going to add that there. Do you want to go ahead and pose your questions now to?
Yeah,
to-
so the reason I asked the question about a designer potentially being involved, I think it's a very good-looking sign. I like the graphics. I like the, it's simple. It's a nice-looking sign on a nice-looking building. It just has a little bit of an odd relationship with the columns, and it just barely overlaps a couple of the columns. And I was just curious if the designer feels like that's complementary to the building. That's great, but as an architect myself, I don't sit as an architect on the board, but I am. And if this were my building, I would change the relationship of the sign a little bit to the columns.
Sure, that's a great question. So the dimensions were already determined when Good News came to us. We simply verified that they were within the limitations of the code, and we moved forward. So yes,
Okay.
We're not the source of the scaling in this particular
okay.
instance. It was the church themselves, presumably whoever designed the porch structure.
Okay.
Any other questions of our applicant?
And then that color, the two color samples I gave you there, that's the color of the slats that are behind the sign, and then that's the accent E color there.
That's the E.
And then, of course, the letters are white, like we discussed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can't dictate the color on the signage that's used,
Okay.
so, but I appreciate you bringing it in. All right, well, no other questions, thank you. Does anyone from the public want to speak on this one? All right, and not seeing anyone in there.
I have a question about the illumination.
Sure.
So I see your detail on illumination
Yes.
off to the right there. So are each of these letters individually illuminated by this system right here, or is this like a solid backing that goes across these?
So the lights themselves are contained within each letter. There is a raceway behind the letters that's painted that color to match the louver structure.
Okay.
That contains the wiring,
Okay.
but the lights themselves are contained within each letter.
And then just curious, where is this electrically tying into? Is this on photocells or what are y'all?
Yes, there's currently in place, there's a circuit controlled by photocells.
Okay. And then the next comment by the planner was to show the dimension, the height of the sign, to show that it's in compliant. Do you guys have that available of the height from grade up to?
If it's not on any of the drawings that we submitted, it's probably just an oversight. It'd be something very easy for me to give you. My
Height of the letters, how far it is off the,
yeah, how far from the ground to the top of the sign. I don't have that off the top of my head. Looking at the scale drawing.
That's something that you can provide
Yeah,
to staff.
yeah, very easily.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
We can fix that.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. All right. Any discussion?
I'm gonna concur with David. I mean, to me, this is a really good looking structure with the columns and the beams and the louvers and all that stuff, and I just hate to cover all those up. It just looks to me like it was just slapped up there.
Has the
Yeah, they
sign
just-
already been
They
manufactured?
just put it up there.
Okay.
I mean, that's my first thought when I saw it. I mean,
Yeah. I've stared at it for a while now, and I think that the solution would be to shrink. I know that I think the correct term is the kerning. We can't just squash the lettering together. It would
Right.
that would not look good. So I'm very careful about not suggesting people make their signs smaller if they're in compliance. But if the sign, as an example, the G at one end and the H at the other end, if they were about the scale of this building, probably somewhere in the vicinity of 9 inches or a foot inside of the louvers, the sign would read as if it were part of the structure. With it just barely overlapping the inner columns of the set of columns that it's on top of, it looks like it can't quite decide whether it's too big or too small. But it's, not to make a Goldilocks comment, but it's kind of, it's in between, it's not good.
So to clarify, you want the horizontal dimension changed to accommodate those letters to be on the inside.
Yes,
and
I would
not
suggest, since
situated
I'm
in
guessing.
the middle.
Yeah, I think if it were to be made larger so that it went completely outboard of the columns, I think the sign would no longer be in compliance vertically. So I think the only option is to shrink it a little bit so that, and again, I'm making a judgment call. If I might be able to decide how big these columns are. They look like they might be 12 by 12s.
Maybe they're pretty big.
Yeah, they look
Yeah.
pretty big. So I
Mhm.
think they're probably 12 by 12s or some sort of glue lam equivalent, 11 and some inches. And so I think if it were, somewhere close to the width of the column inboard, I think it would then look like it was part of the building.
So you're saying just scale it down proportionally?
Yeah,
to
just
get
scale it down.
inside, 12
Yeah.
inches inside each
And
column?
Yeah, I think there is a dimension. Yeah, I mean, if in making the motion, it would help to be precise, if that's the only concern that we all seem to have. I don't mind using a particular dimension, I could say not to exceed, or, maybe the dimension between the G and the nearest column would have to be at least 9 inches. Would that be a sufficiently detailed motion if I were to say something along those lines? To give staff that the G would be at least 9 inches inboard of the column it's nearest to, and the H similarly be 9 inches inboard, and just kind of recalculate all the numbers?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, David, sorry, I spaced on your first name. No, I see what you're saying. That makes perfect sense to me as long as it's proportional to what the requirements are for the square footage of the sign. That makes sense to me. But it's kind of hard to determine that, not knowing what the dimensions are from the top of the canopy
Yeah,
to,
understood.
I guess, the top of the G, right? Which is where that copy text would start. But if the applicant can get creative and figure out how to make that happen, that makes sense to me.
Okay. And then, with the interest of trying to get this approved, assuming that there are no other concerns, concerns among members of the board, if the motion is contingent that all the other criteria are in compliance, can we approve this thing so it's gone and doesn't have to come back next month?
Oh, I absolutely think
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I don't have a problem in the world with us allowing conditions on it.
That the
and
staff then
staff
check
can-
on
yeah,
and great,
the
okay,
staff
that'd
can
be
check on.
awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
That works well in the past, so.
Okay.
Thank you. If our applicant wouldn't mind to come back up. Would it be, would you be agreeable to shrinking the dimension of the sign down to fit within the
Yes.
area?
Yes,
Okay.
and from what I understand, what you want to see is a 9-inch margin
Yes,
on left and right between
Yep.
those, the outermost columns. That's perfectly fine with me.
And, centered within that, which it looks graphically, it
Yes,
looks you've centered it, but-
vertically and horizontally
Yep.
centered within that space with a 9-inch margin,
Yep,
minimum
perfect.
on left and right.
And you're good with that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All right, any other concerns?
I guess my only concern is what happens to the teal E when you shrink that down, and where does that end up visually? You know, because if you're given 9 inches on either side, that E might be right in the middle of that middle post, right at that middle column right there.
Yeah, I think that should
Um,
be okay. It's going to have to obviously be mounted such that it's outboard of the columns slightly. And hopefully the raceway supports the letters.
Correct.
Yeah.
So and I have no problem if the raceway continues, so that it's mounted to the columns. I'm guessing that's probably gonna have to be that way. It's just graphically, the letters need to shrink down a little bit. As a percentage, I think it's a relatively small percentage of the overall width of the sign. So.
All right, would anybody care to make a motion?
I will try. So I move the approval of the Good News Church building sign contingent on the sign having a 9-inch margin at either end for the lettering. The raceway can remain as is to support the sign, and also contingent on all other criteria being fully compliant with the land development code.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, item 7.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 7, Vision Church Monument Sign, request to approve by final order for SGN 25-000231. This is a scenic corridor sign application submitted also by Advanced Sign Solutions on behalf of Christian International Corp., requesting approval of a monument sign measuring 27 square feet on 21.2 plus or minus acres with a future land use of commercial and a zoning category of general commercial. The property is located in District 5 at 5200 US Highway 98 East and can be identified by the parcel number in your staff report. May I enter the staff report into the record?
Yes, so noted.
Okay, so for Vision Church, let's see. So I have 4 comments here. So staff recommendation is that revisions are required. A couple of things to point out. I want to give the applicant an opportunity to clarify the 911 address number, just to make sure that I'm seeing things clearly from my review, just to make sure that's correct per that code section. Let's see. So the sign, per comment 2, the sign's only showing part of the width. So I requested the applicant to adjust the sign width to meet the maximum width of 12 feet for this type of sign. Let's see. So they would have to adjust their total sign area because their proposed sign is exceeding the maximum 80 square foot requirement. And per section 4, or comment 4, the proposed sign copy area is exceeding the maximum 35% requirement. So I asked the applicant to show specific dimensions, height and width of the entire sign copy area, and for them to reference the definition of copy area in Chapter 9. So those are my comments. We recommend that revisions are required, and of course, this is the space for you all to let us know if there's any additional information that you might need.
Did the applicant provide a revised drawing to you showing the reduction in the space, the 35%, or showing any of the other dimensions? Have you?
As of last Wednesday, before the county was closed, no, I have not received any updates on that. Is this the request? I think this is the DRB request for a Vision Church nighttime rendering. No, this is not the one. Nope. So no, I have not received any revisions addressing those comments on this one.
And are you just looking for, on the 35%, was there a math takeoff done by the applicant, or are you just asking for them to confirm their math?
I am asking for them to confirm my math because according to the documents that they provided, the square footage is exceeding, the calculated square footage is exceeding their maximum 35%, according to staff calculations.
Okay.
So I am asking them to adjust that to meet that requirement.
All right. Any other questions of staff? All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question. What was the square footage that you had calculated?
Let's see if I wrote that down.
I'm getting 89.58 based on what I'm seeing. So they're over that. Based on 172 inches by 75 inches is what
Yes, that is the calculation that
14.33 by 6.25.
yeah, they were
89.5.
exceeding, because I was calculating the dimension by, well, first of all, they're missing part of the width. If we are including the separate,
Columns.
the columns,
Yeah.
right, correct. If we're including the dimension of that also, then that's one thing. And then the other thing is, are they exceeding that amount?
Right.
And based on what I calculated from what they provided, they are for the total area of the sign. And then for the copy area,
Are we aware
they're also exceeding that based on their dimensions.
Are we aware of what the red in the rendering stands for with 16 square feet and 11 square feet, what that's notating or denoting?
Copy area,
It's labeled page 6
That's-
of 8, but it's in red and it's
sign type.
on the top, it's 16 square feet, and then below the landscaped part, it says 11 square feet, but there's no explanation as to what that's
Yeah, that's a good
pointing
observation.
to. I don't know what those numbers, what they're in relation to.
I do not know the answer to that question. If the applicant's here, which I believe they are, yeah, I'll defer to them on the answer to that, but that's a good observation. I don't know
Is
if
it,
that's a part of the copy area, sign copy area, or if that's lighting.
Okay. I think that's intended to be their area takeoff for the sign face. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah.
For applicant, is here.
And then I'm Braden Hierman, representing Advanced Science Solutions.
So we have some questions about the area calculations.
Mhm.
Do you have that information available with you, or how some of those dimensions were met?
You have an extra hard copy by chance?
I have this hard copy, but you're welcome to
Okay.
to look at it.
Okay, so the red area, yeah, that's my copy area of the top, the 16 square feet. And then this bottom 11 square feet, call it, is for the changeable message area, which is 11 square feet. And then as far as missing the dimensions of the entire structure, I'm not sure if that's a glitch on the digital version, but I do see that here called out at 172.
The dimension would be the dimension of the sign area. So not just the square footage calculation,
Oh,
but so
okay.
that we could independently
I see.
identify.
So
this
you can
is-
verify
yeah.
my math. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's fair enough.
And I think for the revision due back to staff, that those dimensions would definitely need to be on there. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for our applicant? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Anyone from the audience want to speak on this one? And seeing none, discussion.
Well, if you're just going based off the staff review comments, the very first one addresses the sizing of the 911 address number, which is oversized at this point. So that would have to be
I
adjusted to the correct.
I think all the staff
Code
comments
dimensions.
are applicable, and we can apply those to
Okay.
the revision there. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Anyone care to?
I'm just not sure where they're getting 16 square feet from. I'm trying to figure out the math on
Yeah.
this thing where, like, 15 inches by 120 inches.
Yeah,
I've got
zooming in
10
on
by
this,
1.25, so we've got.
zooming in on the rendering, it appears there's a red box that contains both the upper large copy and the lower smaller copy.
Right,
I'm-
there are, I can see
Yeah,
those
I'm
on.
wondering, although that's not what the dimensions are of, there's a 6-inch dimension for the dimension of the lower copy and 9 inches for the upper copy, but is it possible that that entire box is 16 square feet?
I think that's what the intention of the call out is, and
Yeah.
so what.
Yeah,
what
I'm
we're
just saying the
asking- yeah.
math that I'm doing on the 120 inches with the 15 inches that's there doesn't equal 16 square feet. So I'm just wondering what the,
Yeah, the little,
And it would also include the spacing between. because
which
it
is
would
not,
be the-
yeah, not
Yeah, it would be
dimension.
the
It
entire
appears to
square.
be 6 inches as well, just looking at it.
oh,
so
I
it'd
see,
be-
I'm missing the middle. There we
Yeah,
go.
Yes,
so I think
Okay.
it'd be, actually be
Gotcha.
12 plus.
So whatever that dimension is in the middle is added into that to
Right.
equate
Yeah.
to 16 square feet, but there's no way for us to check that math without knowing that dimension.
Correct, which I think was the point.
And there's no way for us to check the math on the bottom without confirmation of the dimension.
Yes, ma'am.
And just for clarification, to make sure that I'm interpreting the code correctly, subsection G11 states that the maximum sign face copy area is 35% of the sign face area per side of the sign. So this area may not be combined on one side. An example is 80 square foot sign would allow for 28 square feet of copy area per side. So based on that, that's how I was able to calculate based on what they provided that their sign copy area was exceeding the 35%.
No, I agree with you. I think that's.
So hopefully that made.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
think that's the correct interpretation. And I think that they should have to demonstrate those dimensions to you
Okay.
for final approval.
I don't have any substantive comments on the sign, but just for sake of kind of figuring out where we're headed, assuming that this is close enough that when all those adjustments are made, that I don't perceive that it's going to alter the appearance of the sign so much that it would come out to be something unexpected. But assuming those what sound like relatively small adjustments are made, is it your sense, Madam Chairperson, that we're going to move this forward tonight, or are we going to ask for a?
In my opinion, I think this is minor enough that we accept staff comments and let them make the final call on it. I agree with you. I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to change the look of the sign or the structure itself. And I think that we're probably going to be getting a smaller copy area, which is
Yeah,
fine
which
for
would be
me.
good. Yep.
So, So, yeah, I don't have any problem with just accepting, and including staff comments as conditions of approval and letting them move forward.
Okay.
I don't see a reason to delay on our part for another month. That's just my opinion, but that's how I feel on it.
I feel the same way.
Would anybody, any further discussion, or does anybody want to take a stab at a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 7 with the staff recommendations.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, 7 passes. All right, and now for items 8 and 9. If you don't mind, we would like to have both staff reports presented for this for both projects. We'll discuss them together, and then we'll do 2 separate votes at the end.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, let me pull up my documents here. Okay. So items 8 and 9, Botanic Monument sign and Botanic Building sign, SGN 25000228 and SGN 25000229. These are both scenic corridor sign applications submitted by Denise Signs, Inc. on behalf of D.D. Walton Way, LLC, requesting, well, the monument sign is requesting approval, and it's measuring 31.67 square feet on 25.45 plus or minus acres with a future land use of commercial and a zoning category of general commercial. The property is located in District 4 at 12598 US Highway 98 West and can be identified by the parcel number in your staff report. And for the Botanic Building sign, this is requesting approval. It's measuring 33.5 square feet on 25.45 plus or minus acres with a future land use of commercial and a zoning category of general commercial. And that property is located also in District 4, 12598 US Highway 98 West, and can be identified by the parcel number in your staff report. Okay, so from my understanding, should we start with the monument sign first?
Well, we're actually just going to talk about both of them together.
Okay,
When
okay.
we have multiple items for the same project, we like to just kind of combine
Got
them.
it. Okay.
And then we'll take separate discussion at the end. And so if you would like to enter both staff reports, we can do that.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and enter both staff reports into the record.
Okay, thank you. So noted.
Okay, so starting with the Botanic Monument sign, I'll go over my comments with that one and then go over the comments with the building
Yes,
sign.
please.
So with the monument sign, it appears I have no staff comments on that one. My recommendation is for you all to determine if additional information is needed for the proposal to move forward. And for the Botanic Building side of it, there are several comments. And for the building sign, staff recommends that revisions are required. And of course, you can determine if additional information is needed. In terms of the outstanding comments, I want to note that this is a type 2 building sign under a canopy. The proposed sign, based on my calculations, exceeds the maximum allowable sign face area. So I recommended the applicant to adjust the size to meet that requirement in the code. And the sign also exceeds the maximum allowable copy area. And I'm asking them to adjust the size to meet that particular code section requirement. So I'll open it up to questions for staff, and if you don't have any for me, I'll defer to the applicant.
I don't have any questions for staff. Does anyone? No. All right, thank you. Would our applicant like to come up? Okay.
What am I supposed to do? Say my name?
Yeah, if you'll state your name for the record, and please spell your last name. And then if there's anything additional that you'd like to tell us, or if you have any discussion about the sign being larger than what staff is saying is allowable, if you're agreeable to resubmit that with the correct dimensions, anything extra?
I'm Alex Eason, E-I-S-O-N, and I was not aware of the sizes that she just mentioned, and I would be completely fine with doing whatever I need to do to make her happy. So, I mean,
I think the monument sign's very attractive.
I do too.
I really love it. So,
Great. It's very much in keeping with the building.
a lot better than where we were at a minute ago.
well, yes. Perhaps you should send a letter to the other property owner saying you'd like to.
Got that under control. I'm gonna stay out of that.
And
Sounds like you would get it under control. That was
not
really
try to
exciting.
poach their business.
If I would have called, yeah, it would have been bad.
Yeah. I think that the monument sign is great. I don't have a problem with the leasing office sign either. So if as long as we can get the compliance for size with staff, I'm good with that appearance. I think it looks great and in keeping with the building. And thank you for submitting all of the elevations along with the signage. We appreciate when applicants do that.
There's a lady that does that, is very, very good at what she does and makes me do all that. So I'm glad she
That
does.
is great. It means she followed the checklist, which is
It
also
is,
helpful.
it is.
Anyone have any specific questions of our applicant on either the monument or the building sign? All right, thank you. All right, anyone from the audience want to speak on this one? Seeing none, any additional discussion? Anyone care to make a motion? We'll need two separate motions and two separate votes.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 8.
Second?
I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Amend that motion to say pending approval of changes to the code?
That will be for the second one.
Oh, so the first one
The
was
first one
fine.
was
But
fully
yeah,
Oh,
the
compliant.
first one
sorry,
was the
sorry,
monument sign.
okay. Damn.
Okay.
Monument side's fine.
So,
Okay.
all in favor of the original motion and second?
Yes,
Aye.
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 Okay. And on the building sign,
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 9, the Botanic Building sign, on the limitation that it adheres to the code and the comments made by the planner are addressed before final approval.
Second?
I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we are passed. Thank you very much. If there's no other business tonight. Oh, no problem. I am very sorry. I'm very sorry. Got my schedule all mixed up, and I had talked to Tim earlier today, and I had in my mind we had 2 more days, so.
Our meeting normally would have been
Would have normally
last Thursday, but it was adjusted for the holiday, so.
No problem. Thank you. So if we'll go ahead, we'll.
Move to adjourn?
Yeah, move to adjourn.
Oh, thank you. We are,
Made it.
I was actually driving back to Santa Rosa Beach and stopped and took pictures of the sign.
What's it to saddest?
So is it still an issue with the mural then?
Vote that the Board of County